So we're starting this ride in the lovely town of Burford, often known as the gateway to the Cotswolds, and it really is one of those towns and villages that you have to visit when you come to the Cotswold. It's almost like one of the top 5, and I will be doing a video specifically on Burford, because there's actually quite a lot to Burford, as well as the beautiful architecture and the visual nature of the town. There's also quite a bit of history here as well. Played a pivotal role in the English Civil War. It's famous for actually something not related to the Roundheads and the Royalists. It was more to do with after the end of the war, when the Royalists were defeated, and there was a rebellion very close to here, which saw a large number of Roundhead troops rebel, mainly around not being paid, that classic, and then they were captured by Cromwell's forces, imprisoned in the church. There are some scratches made in the church to commemorate it. And then sadly 3 of them were executed on the hands, on the word of Cromwell. So a lot of history there. So we'll do that in a separate video, so check back later for that one. Now Burford's also quite interesting just because of the town name itself. 2 parts of it, obviously Burr and Ford, making Burford. The ford is fairly obvious really, and that's that it's a ford over the River Windrush, which we're just about to go over at the moment, if these traffic lights let us through. But the second part is, the first part of the word Burr is actually a shortened version of Bury, B-U-R-Y, and Bury is an old Anglo-Saxon word for a fortified place. So quite literally, Burford means a fortified place where you can ford the river, and Bury became, the Y was lost over time, so instead of it being Bury Ford, it became Burford. So it's one of those things that is endlessly fascinating about the English landscape, where all the names are derived from. I've already done a separate video on that, which covers the influences of the Celts, the Saxons, the Romans and the Vikings on our place names. So if you wanted to check out the channel, that's already lodged there, and have a look at that. So anyway, we're obviously escaping Burford now. And one of the things of the Cotswolds, which people will find as they drive round, is the towns can be a little bit congested. Obviously quite narrow streets, lots of rivers to cross, traffic lights and those sorts of things. But literally as soon as you, there's a lovely windrush, look at that, beautiful. But as soon as you get out of the village, the town, it does tend to open up, and this is one of those places where you can really see that. So we're just going to come across here. We're going to pick up the 424, which takes us all the way to Stow, where we're going to hang a right in Stow and set us on our way to our prehistory of 2,500 years before Christ, BC. But actually, as you come around here, fairly tight, climb up the hill, and as soon as you crest the hill, the Cotswolds opens out and you're into the Cotswold Hills. It's not a particularly fast road, this one, but as essence, I think that's part of the beauty of the Cotswolds. It's not a place to go fast, it's a place to actually ride along at a reasonable pace, enjoy the scenery, enjoy the open space, and sort of enjoy the ride really. So as you see, not the best day for it today, a little bit murky, well actually a lot murky, not a lot of sun coming through, but you're up onto the hills and all of a sudden you've got that feeling of space as you ride across. So yeah, nice part of the world. This is quite a nice decent road, this actually. On a sunny day you can see for a fair old distance. As I say, not so much today, a little bit gloomy. Okay, well I'm gonna be quiet now and let you just enjoy a little bit of the ride, and then we'll switch off, and I'll talk to you again when we reach Stow. So we've just joined the 429 coming into Stow. Shame the weather's not much today. If you look at the colours of these trees and these leaves, absolutely fabulous. I do think of all the seasons, Cotswolds in the early autumn, absolutely beautiful once the leaves start to turn. If you catch a bit of sun on it, really is stunning. Obviously not a lot of sun around today, but you can't let that stop you getting on the bike. Otherwise in the UK you'd be out 3 or 4 times a year, so particularly when you've got to work for a living and you've got Saturday and Sunday to do your riding. Anyway, so coming into Stow, Obviously Stow, very historical, very picturesque. Again, it's on the list of places to do a video on, because there's quite a lot of things to talk about here in terms of the church, its role in the Civil War. It's actually the last major battle of the Civil War. Was fought here, which saw the Royalists defeated by the parliamentarians under the control of Cromwell. So a lot of history here. A very bloodthirsty battle by all accounts. There was an anecdotal story about the blood was so deep in the middle of Stow that the ducks could bath in it. Not sure why ducks would want to do that. They don't strike me as that kind of bird, but there you go. I don't make the anecdotes, I just report them. So yeah, there's a street in Stow called Digbeth, which apparently, bit of a long stretch this, apparently is originally to do called duck bath. Sounds a bit implausible to me, but there you go. That's the legend. So yeah, so beautiful town. We'll come back to this another day. So if you subscribe, you'll get a notification when that one's done. And as I say, there's a lot of history to go through that one. Okay, so we're now going to head down towards Chipping Norton, and then pick up our Neolithic historical site. So just whiz through Stow. Again, you're not seeing it at its best today, but that's the vagaries of the UK weather. Still a nice place. The main town's obviously off to the left of me, so we're going to skirt really just around the outside, but even the outskirts of the city, I wish, on the outskirts of the town, of that beautiful honey-coloured Cotswold stone. And that's the Porch House there. I don't know if you caught that on the video. That is one of the oldest pubs in England. So again, we'll be coming back to have a look at that when we do the Stow video. So I'll leave you for a moment now while I ride through the gloom of the November English weather. More traffic lights. I'll tell you what, I do think they save them up for the autumn and winter season. It's almost like they don't want to disrupt the tourist trade too much. You do seem to get far too many traffic lights here. Anyway, I'll leave you now. We all got better things to do than have a video of someone sitting at traffic lights. Sadly, the weather is really against us. You're not seeing this in all its glory. But this road, the 436 from Stow to Chipping Norton in the autumn with a little bit of sun, is an absolute cracker. You just have to bear with me and use a bit of imagination to see what these colours would like in the sun. But it is extraordinary. One of my favourite rides. I'll definitely come back this way at some point when it's sunny. There's a window of about 6 weeks when it's at its very best. We're most probably at the tail end of that window, in truth, in terms of the colours and the volume of leaves on the trees. And obviously the weather has really been against us. It was meant to be dull today, and actually it's turned out to that classic English drizzle, which sort of kind of saps your energy and takes and mutes all the colours. But anyway, enjoy the ride. It is an absolute beautiful one, and you'll just have to use a bit of imagination when it comes to the colours of the foliage. Okay, catch you later when we get near Chipping Norton. Absolutely stunning. Oh, gutted about the weather. Bit of sunshine is all we need. Not today, I think. Okay, so we've turned off the main road now and we're heading towards the Rollrights, Rollrights rather, Rollrights. Now again, I'm having to ask you to use your imagination a lot here, but if you were to look to your left and your right, you would realise that we're running along the top of a limestone ridge. I say the weather is really against us today, so use your imagination, take my word for it, and that's actually quite important as to why we're headed this way, really, because this is it's got views on both sides of the valley, and that's really why the site that we're going to see is located up here. I have to say the road surface along this road is really poor, though in truth that feels like most of the UK at the moment. Actually, it doesn't feel like most of the UK, it feels like most of England. I had a trip out to Wales earlier in the year, and literally as you cross the border the tarmac went from being truly atrocious to being sublime. Really smooth, looked like they'd surfaced it 3 or 4 weeks ago. I don't know quite how they managed to pull that off, but we really do get the bad end of the stick when it comes to tarmac in this country. It feels like we repair the roads when we absolutely have to, when they're almost falling apart. Yeah, so this is not the best bit of tarmac. Added to that, there's a quarry up here, so it's frequently muddy, so it's one of those roads you have to exercise a little bit of caution on, especially in the wet, or you'll end up sliding down the road rather than riding on it. Anyway, so we're continuing along our little ridge, our limestone ridge. You can kind of see down there the land falls away, and if you look down that side it falls away again, so you can see the limestone ridge that we're running on. The views are fantastic, but again, you'll have to take my word for it. It's one of those beautiful English days. So what we're going to do now, we're just going to pull into this lay-by up here and hope it's not too muddy and we can get some traction and park up properly. So we'll pull over here. So we are now at something called the Rollright Stones. Okay, I'm just going to dismount the bike and then I'll get back on the video and show you what we're going to see. So literally just off a little B road, you come across something called the Rollright Stones, a Neolithic monument spanning, what's it say up here, 3,800 to 1500 BC. So this piece here we're going to look at is 2,500 BC, so Neolithic. So this little complex on top of this limestone ridge with views to both sides actually comprises 3 ancient stone pieces. So you've got the King's Men, which we're going to look at, the King's Stone, which is single stone, and then the Whispering Knights. But for me, this is the most impressive one, and I just love the fact it's not a big song and dance about it. It literally just sits there off the road, unheralded, a tiny little sign telling you where it is. But there it is. Now the weather is absolutely miserable now. It's that English drizzle. It wasn't meant to be like this today. The weather forecast has let us down again. So I've got some pictures that I took on a previous time that I'll just show you. But even in this weather, it's just got a certain calm magnificence to it. Absolutely love it. And it's one of those hidden gems that even the people around here and the tourist board, the National Trust, they make nothing of it. They just leave it here for people to quietly come and enjoy. I do think it is used by modern day pagans and people like that from time to time, but in the main it just sits here quietly, and people turn up, have a wander around, have a look at the views. Not today obviously, but just enjoy the quiet peace of the place. So there you go. I'll put the other pictures I took in earlier up so you can see those, and then we'll get on our way. But if you're passing this way and you've got a spare half an hour, it's a really nice place to just have a wander around, sit on the bench, just contemplate life, enjoy the peace and quiet, enjoy the tranquility of the place. You do get a bit of traffic going by, but it's not really that intrusive. Really is a lovely place on a nice day. If you get here, the sun's going down. I think if my pictures were taken when the sun's going down or at sunrise, absolutely fabulous. Anyway, okay, let's move on. Okay, so let's continue on for our second stop. So that was 2,500 years BC, magnificent stone circle. Again, weather not really helped us today, but I'm sure you can see what it could be on a nice day, so I hope you find time to visit that. We're now going to jump quite a long way forward in time to 1941, which is another little story hidden away in the back streets of this area. So 1941, towards the end of the Second World War, obviously the Allies against Germany looked like they were starting to win, and already people were starting to think about a post-war world. And so our story now relates to a lady called Ursula Kaczynski, born in what was ended up being East Germany. She was born to a family that was very left-leaning, communist in effect, and she grew up as a communist sympathizer, and obviously the Germans took over. She ended up working for the Russians, obviously is against the far-right Nazi regime. And then as the war sort of progressed, it became evident and became aware that the Soviets realised that the Allies, America and the UK were working on a nuclear bomb, or nuclear energy, which they could use as a bomb. And obviously we all know about Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And so Ursula, or she was known then Colonel Kaczynski in the Soviet spy setup. She married a Englishman, a Mr. Burton, who was also a communist, and she got an English passport and residency here, and she came and lived in the UK, and she settled in a little place called Great Rollright, and her role was to extract the secrets of atomic weapons to give to the Soviets so that they would not be left behind in a post-war Europe. And she was phenomenally successful. So she moved into Great Rollright. From the outside looked like a conventional member of the public, participated in all things that village life bring. Apparently she was quite well known for her delicious scones, so she really did absorb the English rural life. But unbeknown to the authorities and to her neighbours, she also had a very powerful radio hidden in her outside toilet, with which she used to communicate with the Russians, passing on various secrets. In addition, she did regular drops in a hollow tree around here, which would be picked up by another Soviet agent and passed on to the Soviets. Now, a name that you may well have come across before is a gentleman called Klaus Fuchs, who was working inside the nuclear testing facility over in Oxford, and he was also a Russian spy, and in effect Colonel Kaczynski was his handler, and someone that took the information and passed it on to the outside world. And it was said afterwards that her role was she passed the greatest number of documents with the most significance to Soviet intelligence of anybody else working for the Soviets. And the net results of her actions from 1941 to 1950 was that the Soviets acquired nuclear energy and the nuclear bomb, which ushered in the Cold War. So her impact on history, and particularly 20th century history, is absolutely huge. Now, Klaus Fuchs was arrested in 1950, and Ursula was forced to flee with her children, and she went to Soviet Russia, where she lived a very peaceful life. Did commit all her memories to a book, which has been published. It's quite a hard read, if we're being honest, but it does tell all of her wartime exploits and how she, right under the noses of the authorities, carried on her spying and espionage for the Soviet Union. And this is where she lived. the Firs farmhouse right in the middle of this little village. I think it's quite extraordinary. I just love the fact that it was happening right under the nose of the authorities and in such a small small little English village. I really quite like the idea of history hidden in plain sight. So there you go, from 2,500 years BC with Neolithic stones to 1941 and the most successful Soviet spy ever to have operated on the UK. So there you go. Okay, well, I'm going to have to ride across now. What I'm going to have to do is get a warm cup of coffee because the weather is typical English autumn weather. I'm starting to lose the feeling in my fingers and my toes, so it's time to sit somewhere warm, have a coffee and relax on this dreary English day. But I hope that little trip was of interest to you, and if you find your way in these neck of the woods, drop in on these places. Really well worth the effort. As a new channel, your likes and subscriptions and subscribes are really important. They keep the thing going. I'm pretty much learning on the job, learning what works, learning videography, learning editing, learning how to do these videos whilst riding. So the subscriptions and the likes really help. So if you feel it's something you'd like to do, please do subscribe. I've got lots of content coming around places in the Cotswolds, hidden gems, some of the classics like Burford, on the Water, and I'll always try and show you the things that maybe aren't in all the guidebooks. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully see you soon. Thanks then, bye bye.